Crystal Tower information, Whiskey 21530 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on Oak Tower, Roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying flag, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, every flight.
Well, hey there. Welcome, everyone, to the Flying Midwest podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jim. Joining me tonight, the fabulous Madi.
Hello.
And the illustrious Badger pilot. Some people call him Andrew. We call him the Badger.
Hey, guys.
How is everyone doing?
I'm good on my end.
I'm tired, but just fine. Thanks for asking. How are you, Jim?
I'm tired, but just fine. Thanks for asking.
You can't take my answer.
But it's totally my answer, too.
Oh, it's illegal.
Can I change my answer? I'm tired, but it's fine. Thanks for asking.
This is the joys of an audio format podcast is no one can see how incredibly tired every single one of us looks. We all look like we're barely awake. Before we get into the what everyone's been up to, on this episode, we're going to lean very heavily into what one of us has been up to. Our fabulous co-host, Madi, will share her insights into the jet life. It kind of rhymes, too, a little bit.
I thought about it, or I thought of that title in a Walmart line to check out. So
that's where all great ideas come from. So as far as the typical catching up that we do at the beginning of the episode, Madi, we're putting you on the back burner because we're going to talk about you pretty much for about 45 minutes.
I don't want to talk about me for 45 minutes. Can we shorten that up a little bit?
I make no promises. Badger, what have you been up to?
Flying a bit, I suppose. That's always a good thing, right?
I suppose. What have you been?
Studying a bit.
Okay.
What's that?
You suppose?
You suppose?
I suppose. I crossed 350 hours this week.
Nice.
So that's exciting.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I know, I think I mentioned in the last episode, I thought I was on track to schedule a check ride and get commercial done before AirVenture. And the update to that is my June is way too busy and I don't think it's going to happen. Which, it's fine. I think I'm mostly ready. It's just I want to have a good couple of weeks where I can fly a couple times a week leading up to it just so I keep that proficiency. So, no sense in rushing it.
So what you're telling me here is you are suffering the plight of pretty much every aviator in the history of aviation where you have a goal for a check ride date and then you don't. That's it.
Yeah.
That was the only thought. There was nothing more to that.
Don't. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and I think at the beginning of the year, my resolution was to get commercial done and start CFI within the year. So
You got time.
still on track for
You got
that.
time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Let's see. What else? Oh, I did an accelerated stall for the first time.
How was that?
On purpose or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to clarify.
On purpose. So, actually, we could go back. I have done them by accident and not put the pieces together that's what happened. I just sort of subconsciously was like, oh, stall light, lower the nose. And then it was, oh, this is what we're actually doing here. So, but I think that means I've at least done all of the commercial maneuvers. Accelerated stall is a commercial maneuver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I've done all of them at least 3 or 4 times now. So.
Wowzers.
Stuff.
Good for you.
Yeah, they're super benign. There's nothing to worry about. So,
How do you like 8-ton pylons?
I like doing it because I understand the concept of it. I understand the controlling of the airplane. For the life of me, I can never find my second pylon. I've tried the whole picking my second pylon. I've tried the whole just pick your first pylon and then don't pick your second one until you're in the second half of it. I've tried starting by turning to the left. I've tried starting by turning to the right. If somebody knows how I should be picking my pylons better, because I lose it under the plane. Maybe I'm just too close to it. I don't know, but
I think, you know what I think you should do?
But
I think you should
don't
ask
say high wing.
No, ew, no. I would never. No, I was going to say, hey, maybe you should ask your CFI.
No, he's been teaching himself, remember?
Yes, the art of primacy.
Nothing like it.
So, and you mentioned CFI. That's been the other struggle I have right now. I have a CFI that I really like. We work well together. I've flown with him before. He was a CFI. He's a good pilot. He's a younger kid, but he's good. I trust him to fly my family. We just can't get our schedules to line up.
Oh, man.
So I flew with another instructor last night, and I don't think I'm going to fly with them anymore. So I don't, it wasn't a good fit.
I sure hope that you're offending a listener right now.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm not.
Not everybody's for everybody.
No, they were fine, nice personality. I'm sure a great pilot, but just not the teaching style that I learn well from. That's all it is.
Instructors are like a good pair of shoes. You got to try a couple on before you find the right fit.
I probably have at least 2 handfuls of students who I was not their cup of tea. They did not learn as well from me as they could have someone else or did from somebody else.
I get that.
And, you know, as a CFI that, you know, sometimes sucks. It's like, oh, I feel like I'm crap at my job. But, like, you're not friends with everybody. You know, like,
right.
Not everybody is somebody you want to hang out with. It's just like your CFI, you know, can't be anybody. It's got to be somebody you can learn well from. It's totally cool. It just sucks a little bit. You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
True story.
Jim, what's new with you?
So I got a picture in my phone the other day that looks an awful lot like an actual engine for an airplane and not just pieces of engines for an airplane.
Well, that's promising.
Hey, there you
Yeah.
go.
So it looks like a lot of stuff's starting to come back. The case is back together and it's coming along. So I'm hoping at some point soon we'll get it back up. But we're switching to one of those EMAGs. So we'll have one, just the standard, and the other one is going to be an EMAG. Admittedly, I don't know enough about it yet, so I do have to do a bit of research so I can just understand all the concepts of it. But highly recommended by our mechanic and by the engine shop as an option for us with our aircraft and our engines. So we'll see.
So I'm going to ask a question that is probably going to make me try and sound really smart, but it's only because I know the words and not the meaning behind them.
Uh-huh.
Is this going to be the mag with the impulse coupler? Coupling?
I think it has a flux
Coupling.
capacitor.
See, I already screwed it up.
Flux capacitor.
Is that the right component?
I think so.
Honestly, I don't know, so I'm going to leave the flux capacitor comment in there because I'm not sure.
Perfect.
I don't have the answer to your question.
Perfect.
So, do you want the actual answer, or would
Yeah,
you like
go
to
ahead.
live? Okay. Aside from the flux capacitor, I have no idea what those do. But
Oh, you go back to the future.
you
What?
go back to the future. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
So-
been a long time since
So,
I've
like
seen a movie
airplanes,
like
you rotate at a certain speed.
I do know what it
the,
means.
The it's the VBTF is 88 miles an hour.
that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, impulse coupling is basically one of the mags is responsible for spraying sparks, basically. So every time it's rotated, the prop is rotated, it will spray sparks at the spark plugs, like hoping one will catch, basically, to actually start the 4-stroke cycle. Gosh, I haven't talked about pistons in, well, like a month. But it's all like disappearing from my head. But basically, one of them is responsible for that. Both of them don't do that.
There's a YouTube channel, Bryce Builds It All, and he actually
What's he build?
takes apart. Well, in this case, he takes apart a magneto and shows how. I almost said the flux capacitor. How the impulse coupling actually works. So Bryce Builds It All. Go check it out. He's got a really good magneto video.
Gotcha. Let's see. I'm going to try to have an answer for this question for a second. So it's the Surefly electronic mag.
Ooh,
And then we
there you
overhauled
go.
the other one, plus got new mag harness and a bunch of other things with that. We needed a new attitude indicator, plus we figured why not do the annual at the same time. So lots of stuff going on with that engine. Case cylinders. Oh, we needed a new propeller too. I forgot about that. Maybe I said that. So new prop.
Really?
The mags. New vacuum pump.
Wow. You are really cleaning that baby up.
Uh-huh.
Do you guys have an ETA on when the engine's going to be done?
I don't, as a matter of fact. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Maddie, do you have a question? Your hand's raised.
No, I have an answer to make my first explanation a little bit more clear.
Okay, send it.
So, just for y'all's information, the impulse coupling is basically what I said, but its job is to spray those sparks after dead center. So when it's the doohickey is turning. Good job, Maddie. Nouns are really hard, apparently. There's this really cool picture. I'll put it in the thing in the show notes.
God.
Sorry.
I'm just impressed that you knew doohickey was a noun. I wouldn't understand that.
Yeah, so when the piston passes top dead center, then it goes and spins the mag, sends a load of sparks, hoping for that right timing. That's why magneto timing is so important. If it sucks, then everything's going to be goofed up as far as when things are moving. There you go. This is actually really interesting, and I need to not do this right now. So I will just put it in the show notes for you to enjoy.
Fair enough.
And speaking of show notes, I put a link to the YouTube video in our show notes that we can probably also include in the podcast show notes.
Neat. Thanks for doing that. I have one other bit of news. I have a very exciting trip tomorrow where I will be part of the invading forces of Badger Country as I proceed on a scouting mission from my homelands in the Gopher State to overthrow the Badger State. I'm going to Milwaukee tomorrow, where I will try to find Badger's house without him telling me where it is, so I can just mess with him. No, I am going to Milwaukee tomorrow. My dad's got some stuff going on, so we're gonna drive out there tomorrow because I don't have an airplane. So, but Badger, I'll be in your neck of the woods. Tell your folks I says hi.
What are you doing in the evening?
We are going to. No, I guess not.
Wrong answer.
What? What do you mean wrong answer?
You're going to come flying with me. We're going to go to the ice cream social at Camp Lake.
When is that at?
It's from 6 to 9.
Yeah, that is not going to work.
That's not right. No, it's from 3 to 6.
So
I knew there was a 6 in there somewhere.
So my dad is having his last performance in the chorus with the Milwaukee Symphony. So he's been doing that for a number of years, and it's his last one. He's going to stop being part of the chorus and kind of just retire a little bit more in life. So we're going to watch his last couple of performances. So
nice.
And scout the Badger State for when Minnesota takes over. Other than that,
yes,
no real agenda. All right, well,
that's valid.
I'm going to kick it to you two for some news.
Okay.
All right. The removal of parallel runways at Bravo Tango Lima Kellogg Field in Battle Creek, Michigan. A few years back, they added a parallel runway to their 523. So they added 5 right, 2 3 left. And despite it only being there for a few years, they're actually talking about already getting rid of it. They're citing burdens to staff and maintenance, and actually talking about potentially removing this runway and developing the space with additional hangars instead. But this editorial by Jason Blair is saying, although it would reduce the workload for the airport, it also comes at a safety cost and traffic concerns. The parallel runways help better separate traffic, especially aircraft of different speeds, allows them to handle more aircraft and juggle itinerant IFR traffic and pattern traffic together. And of course, the concern now is condensing 2 runways in the traffic that go on to 2 runways now into 1. It's kind of like when you get into a construction zone, which in the Midwest we know is year round, going from 2 lanes to 1, it just gets busy and congested. and it's potentially a safety hazard. Those in favor of getting rid of the parallel have said that in the previous 20 years or so, the airport. Those in favor of getting rid of the runway have cited that in the previous 20 years, the airport didn't actually need parallel runways regularly. But as we all know, air traffic gets busy, runways get busy, airports get busy, and obviously advocates of pilots are saying we need to keep this there for safety. According to data from the FAA's operational network, Battle Creek Executive Airport regularly ran more than 90,000 tower operations per year, going back to 21 and 22. And then in late 2023, the airport damaged the parallel runway during snow plowing operations, which left it closed and didn't operate until late 2024 when the repairs were finally made. And during that time, the airport saw traffic capacity fall slightly to 86,800 and change, and then 79,000 in 2024. So the numbers went down a little bit, but I would argue not in half, so you still need double the runways. So a final decision on this hasn't been made yet, and it looks like this is still in talks. So especially if you are from the Battle Creek, Michigan area, or use that airport, certainly get in touch with all of the usual pilot advocacy services and likely too local politicians, administrators, all of that good stuff, and make sure they know that you want to keep the parallel runways open.
All right, going over to Minnesota. Woo! There was a gentleman in Buffalo, Minnesota in 1980 who picked up a really beat up little Stearman biplane. His name is Ray Johnson. And he spent the next 20 years restoring this Stearman, and it's a beautiful airplane. In 2020, he had both knees replaced and thought it was time to give it up. And when he sold it, he realized that he just sold it to Paramount Pictures. Little did he know that 5 years later, it would star in the new Mission Impossible movie. So that's pretty cool. A few years ago, he showed the Care 11 team around the airplane, so they had seen it, but they had to keep hush-hush until relatively recently. And they did a watch party. They all went to the theater and saw it. Ray is now 92. He still flies. He has, however, a Cessna Cardinal that is easier to get in and out of. But he said that the Stearman was incredibly fun to fly, and he gave probably over 1,000 rides in it, which is super cool. He didn't know it was going to Paramount Pictures until he was actually doing the paperwork. And yeah, now he gets to see the result of all of his hard work over the years. So he spent 20 years restoring it and 20 years flying it. After that, he gets to see it immortalized in film, which is super cool. So apparently they got 2 theaters and 235 people to go watch the movie together in support, which is super cool. They had a special advanced screening of the movie. So apparently they did stunts in the airplane. Like Ray and his children did aerobatics and stuff, but they'd never done obviously any like hanging off the wing or anything crazy like you'll see in the movie. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet. I have not. But I actually really want to now knowing the story. Ray Johnson's still flying. He's puttering around in his Cessna Cardinal, which looks beautiful, as does his Stearman, his old Stearman. So he plans to keep flying as long as he can.
All right, guys, when you think of the Wright brothers and First in Flight, what state do you think of?
Florida. Is it Florida?
I refuse to answer.
No. You refuse to answer? Is that because you're Skibbity Toilet, Ohio? Oh, my daughters are cringing right now hearing that.
Wow. Everybody under the age of 30 just peed themselves.
Yes, we are going to Ohio, who tries to say they are first in flight, despite the first powered flight occurring in North Carolina, of course, but we're talking about Ohio, where and I'm probably saying this wrong, the Carillon Historical Park in Dayton, Ohio, has declared the official airplane of Ohio, the state airplane. We've got the state bird, like here in Wisconsin is the mosquito. We've got the state animal here in Wisconsin is the badger. Well, we don't have a cool state airplane, but Ohio does. They have designated the Wright Flyer 3 as the official state airplane of Ohio. This is an actual Senate bill that was passed, and although it's more ceremonial than anything else, it celebrated the newly designated plane to commemorate the 1905 Wright Brothers 3 Flyer. Ohio Governor DeWine said that the 1905 Wright Flyer 3 is a prime example of why Ohio is considered the heart of innovation. Making the Wright Flyer 3 the official state airplane is a great way to honor Ohio's aviation heritage. So that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. However, it sounds an awful lot like what Wichita did with the whole air capital of the world. Very self-inflicted title. I'm sorry, Ohio, you can't make yourself more attractive. Sorry to anybody who lives in Ohio.
They're not Detroit.
I'll say this too. I looked this up because we all know the first powered flight, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the original Wright Flyer. Mm-hmm. So I looked a little deeper into this thinking, oh, maybe the Wright Flyer 3 actually flew in Ohio.
No.
Yeah, no, it didn't. That flew in North Carolina. It was found abandoned in a hangar, and then it was brought to Ohio to be preserved.
No kidding.
So, yeah. But anyways, good for you, Ohio.
They need some.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've never even been to Ohio, and I just rag on them so hard.
I will bring you all back to the Fun Times in Cleveland Again tourism video. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, you need to watch it. If you are a town whose slogan is "We're not Detroit," I don't know what else I can tell you. That's a place I need to visit.
The bar is Detroit.
Have you guys not seen that video before? It's hilarious.
I don't think so.
This is a place we used to have industry, and then our only export is LeBron James. It's great.
So you don't have to put this in the podcast. You can if you want.
See.
I don't really care. But load up this article and look how terrified the kid standing next to the governor was. He's just like, why am I here? Like, he knows that this is not an Ohio thing. This is supposed to be
North Carolina.
Better. North Carolina's watching.
He's like, this plane's never even been here. I don't understand.
Oh my God, he looks like he's going to cry. I weep for this nation. Everybody else looks so gleeful, and then there's the kid.
He's like, should I tell them that this plane never flew in Ohio?
I tell him. You ever had your flight delayed? Like most people, I'm sure you have, but have you ever had it delayed due to avian interference?
Is this where there's migratory waterfowl in the vicinity of the cabin?
Yes, in fact. There was a Delta Airlines flight that made the news out of Minneapolis that was delayed twice last Saturday because 2 pigeons had stowed aboard and were causing mass chaos in the cabin. So the first bird was noticed and began flying around shortly after boarding and after they had pushed back from the gate. So they had to return after the ground crew had removed it. And then they got pushed back and taxied out again, and voila! Pigeon number 2 took flight, which meant they had to turn right back around and go back to the gate in order to remove the second pigeon. Ironically, a gentleman named Tom Caw. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Caught this all on video and sent it to ABC News, and it has since been filtered onto the internet. And everybody freaking loves it because who doesn't love tiny birds causing chaos on a flight that is supposed to fly? Their flight delayed another. So it doesn't happen often. But it did happen.
Maybe they too wanted to go to Detroit.
Yeah, right.
Where was this flight going anyway?
I have no idea.
All right.
But apparently the captain got on the mic and confirmed that there was indeed a pigeon on the plane, and he had, quote, no experience with this situation. Valid. Apparently, people applauded, and a young girl asked if she could pet it. So apparently, the tower was notified of the second pigeon, and because they had taxied out already. And he said, hey, we have to return back to the gate for a pigeon problem. And ATC apparently said, wow, that's a first for me. And of course, the captain said it was the second time for him. The first being a half hour earlier when they caused chaos the first time. So both birds were removed, alive and well, and fluttering, I'm sure, by baggage handlers both times. And they were safely escorted off the aircraft.
Good grief. You've heard of trouble with trebles. This is problems with pigeons.
Yeah, for real. MSN, where's that? Mike Sierra.
Is that Madison?
It's Madison.
Oh, is it really? Oh, yeah.
Madison.
It was down here. Sorry.
It's Wisconsin.
Sorry.
You know, those pigeons could have flew to Madison quicker on their own than trying to go through security at MSP, delaying flights. They could have just flown there by themselves.
There's a reported speed for pigeons. Speed of pigeon flight.
Are they speed restricted under 10,000 feet?
Probably. Let's do birds by flight speed.
Oh, God. We're really going to find this out, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Apparently,
We're committed.
some racing... Okay, the average pigeon can fly at sustained speed of 60 miles per hour on average. That's
Okay.
very fast. That's faster than most people's airplanes.
Yeah.
Apparently, racing pigeons have been known to sustain a velocity of almost 94 miles per hour over distances as far as 420 miles.
There's so much racing pigeons, like racing horses and racing dogs, racing pigeons.
Yeah, that's the thing.
How do you keep them on the course?
I don't know.
So it's kind of like when they race
ask the ones
horses. Do they go? What do pigeons chase? Hot dogs from parks. We need to have a soundbite that says like something to the effect of "Someone call the NTSB because this podcast is off the tracks," or it's a train wreck. That's what it was. This podcast
is a train wreck.
All right. How do we get out of this rabbit hole that we find ourselves in?
Just like this. I have one more short bit of news,
Okay.
and that's recent guest in front of the show, Alyssa, just hit 1,000 hours.
Nice work.
And so shout out to her. She was on various forums and discords asking, what should I do to celebrate 1,000? She was talking about epic things like flying to Atlanta Hartsfield or something like that. And she decided, you know what? I'm just going to go fly around and have fun and not have a destination in mind. And she said it was an awesome way to do it. So congratulations, Alyssa, on 1,000 hours.
Congratulations. For your next milestone, Alyssa, if you could, if you're familiar with the logo of our podcast, you may be aware it's made up of many states in the Midwest with the name of our podcast in the center. If you could go on something, so on FlightAware, I can see you make our logo in life size across the actual states. We sure would appreciate that.
That will get her to 2,000.
Better get started. Congratulations, though. That's an awesome achievement.
That is.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I got a little review for us to read off of the Apple Podcast machine.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yes.
This review comes to us from DMoney116. 5th star earned. Were we only at 4 stars before?
Were we?
Let's just assume that we've always been we're a 5-star production here.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Anyway, don't be fooled by the podcast name. Although the news and events section focuses on the Midwestern part of the U.S., they bring in guests known nationwide. They do interviews with airshow pilots, airline pilots, and occasionally funny pilots. All 3 hosts are pilots working on their next ratings. They are themselves becoming better pilots and passing their knowledge and experience on to us. They also have an active Discord to plan spontaneous flyouts and meetups and further discussion of episodes. This isn't just another high-wing, north-up, tail-dragger over tricycle gear podcast, but there is an occasional Minnesota-Wisconsin battle. I am not reading the last line of this.
Read the next line.
Read it.
If you don't
Do it.
will.
I refuse.
On Wisconsin.
No, it said go Wisconsin. See, you guys can't even get that right. This is why I'm invading tomorrow.
I mean, Wisconsin hasn't taken up taken over the UP yet.
That's all I need to know about Wisconsin and who they are as a people. That's
It's
yours.
on Wisconsin.
No, that should be.
No, he probably said. I assume he. I don't know. I don't know. They probably said on Wisconsin.
No,
But the stupid autocorrect machine was like, I don't understand this.
Neither does anybody else.
No.
Go Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's on Wisconsin. It's like
You know what?
Roll Tide, but better because forget those.
You know what else is on Wisconsin? The UP, because you guys haven't taken it over. It's just right on the top of there. It's just hanging out.
It's right there.
The fact that you guys haven't taken the UP is everything I need to know about that state.
We don't need the UP.
That's what
It's
anyone
right
would say if they
there.
couldn't just take it.
Yeah, for real. That's quitter talk
Anyway.
right there.
No, you know, we've got Red Wing, which even though it's on the
You
Minnesota
have the
side,
airport.
we have the airport.
It's true.
Exactly.
But you don't
Exactly.
know.
You guys pay the taxes, we reap all the benefits. I don't see a better arrangement than that anywhere.
All right, I'm moving us on. This is.
That's
I refuse to participate in your Bortle bet. Bortle? Thank you so much, D-Money, for that money review. That was so stupid.
Nice.
I'm keeping it
No,
in.
it's funny.
I'm keeping it in.
Please do. It's very funny.
I'm going to. All right, Badger, let's talk about tonight's topic.
Let's do it. Tonight, as we mentioned, is going to be Maddie's insight for the jet life. It's going to be just a discussion of how the first few weeks have gone, and we might have a few specific questions.
And Maddie's opinions are her own, too, not that of any company.
Yes, there you go.
The thoughts expressed on this podcast are my own and not those of my company.
Well, I will ask. So, Maddie, in your own view and opinion, how have the last few weeks been?
Sorry. Oh, the last few weeks have been mass chaos. Things are finally starting to calm down a little bit. So if you don't know, or you haven't heard, or you had a brain fart or whatever, I have recently committed the federal crime of moving out of the Midwest.
We know.
I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to work with a company called Da Vinci Jets, which is now my first time actually announcing that. Da Vinci Jets is a Part 135 and 91 management company, and they manage a lot of different airplanes. The airplane that I fly for them is a Nextant 400, which is essentially a souped-up beach jet. So basically, I am on call, basically like 8 to 6 every day, unless it's one of my days off, which I get 5 per month. So it just means I have to be basically on call. Like I have to basically be able to show up at the airport with a 2 hours notice, which is very stressful when you have a dog and don't know your neighbors. So that's probably the most stressful part. It's like I can be ready to go in no time. I'm 15 minutes away from the airport at most. But yeah, so we get all kinds of people for trips. I've done 2 trips so far. One was an overnight. That was my first one. That was very stressful because I wasn't even supposed to be on the roster yet. And then they're like, nope, you're going. So I went. Of course, first time with anything, it's going to be absolute mass chaos. Like I was, about 18 miles behind the airplane at all times. But my captain was super, super great. She's just like that, kind of helping me along as I flail and fumble and say that I'm at Charlotte Airport to Charlotte ground. My first radio call.
Good
I
job.
told Charlotte that I was at Charlotte. Very proud moment for me. But she's been super, super great. But the first one was an overnight. It was for a golf trip to Vidalia, Georgia. Yes, the onion place. That is all they have. And at Walmart. They have Walmart too. But it was a very nice airport. So we had an overnight there a couple weeks ago. And then just yesterday, I got back from a one-dayer, which I would rather have an overnight. Whew, that was hard. It was a very short flight down to Peachtree, DeKalb, or DeKalb, Peachtree, whichever one it is, PDK, down in Atlanta, Georgia. It was about a 30-minute flight. If you don't know anything about jets, that is a really fast flight. And by fast, it means I had no time to breathe. But that's okay. It was still fun. I had a good time. 7 out of 10. I would do it again.
Well, I hope so, because they did hire you to do that.
Yeah, I
again.
don't have a choice. Would recommend, maybe. overall, settling in just fine, getting on my feet.
Very good. So what kind of flying? So you mentioned Part 135 91 Management Company, this is the company itself, but what kind of flying do you anticipate doing?
So this airplane is owned. It is owned. It's an owner airplane. They fly sometimes, but mostly it is a charter airplane. So it is a Part 135 operated airplane most of the time. And we operate under 135 rules pretty much all the time anyway. So rest rules and stuff like that. Like company rules, we follow all that stuff, just to minimize confusion and just make sure we're all safe and everything. So, as far as what types of trips, it can be anything. Like again, the first one I had was a golf trip. It was, some gentlemen going down to Vidalia for golfing because apparently there's a really nice, place down there, also known as country club. There's a nice country club down there, but no more flights there for the summer because they're actually closing the only runway we can use. But we could go upstate. We could go to, New York, which I am doing next month, I believe. We can go down to the Bahamas, down to Florida, obviously. I've never flown internationally, but that would pretty much be the extent of the international flying we would do. And then we can go as far as we can go to Colorado. Apparently if we take like 2 passengers, we can make it in one tank to go to like Rifle or Aspen or whatever, but those are pretty rare. I heard so, but otherwise, yeah, we can go anywhere in the Midwest and, on the East Coast pretty much. So as far as what kinds of people, it's anybody who needs to go somewhere on a specific time frame. That's kind of the on-call thing.
Gotcha.
I can't really be more specific than that. Yeah, just a variety. It's kind of fun.
So you've talked about the type rating experience, and that's all done in the sim. How does the real plane feel in comparison to the sim?
It is one of the most surreal things I've ever experienced. And I think it will continue to be that way until I have more time in the airplane. I haven't actually flown it like with my own hands. Obviously I'm brand new. Nobody wants me to touch the airplane yet, which is fine. I don't want to. I want to just do the thing that I kind of know how to do. Now the Nextant is pretty different from the Beechjet. So I only got 2 sim sessions and a check ride before, in the Nextant sim. So I'm still getting up to speed on some things. I'm not really always sure where to look for things. And there are certain procedures that are a bit different. We use an electronic checklist, which is integrated into the avionics, which is very fun, but also...
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's just a click-through checklist. It's kind of nice, but at the same time, I'm still... sometimes we have other things pulled up and stuff. I'm like, so... Audio-only podcast, but just imagine me absolutely losing my mind. So it is pretty different, although there are a lot of things that are the same. The cool thing about Level D simulators is that they're, aside from the visuals, they look and feel exactly like the real airplane. And I can attest, they definitely do. All the knobs and switches, for the most part, feel identical. Even the lovely added bonus of when I go for the yaw damp, turn the yaw damp off after takeoff, I either turn down or up somebody's screens. So sometimes I've been very careful and looking down because they moved where the yaw damp and autopilot switches are right underneath the very sensitive knobs for the pilot and co-pilot avionics screen brightness. Somebody really made a lot of money with that decision, and it was not one that I particularly enjoy. But anyway, it's fine. It's fine. At least I knew about it going in, so I was careful. But yeah, it's really surreal. Yesterday we flew through some towering cumulus clouds. There was just no escaping a few of them.
Sure.
They couldn't deviate us because we were in Atlanta and it was nuts. But going through it, it felt like, have you guys ever ridden the ride Soarin' at, I think it's at Disney. Is it Disney? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's one at Mall of America too. Fly over America. Have you?
Oh,
seen
sure.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically,
seen it. Never
you're
been
like
on it.
suspended. You're like but you're suspended. Your legs are hanging and everything. And it like moves around and it shows like you're going through clouds and stuff. I don't know. I did it when I was like 7 and I still remember it. Excuse me. But it felt kind of like that because we were going like 200 knots, Yeah. So we were going pretty fast, but going through and riding over these beautiful clouds. It was an experience I hopefully will never forget. It was so cool. I was just trying to listen to the radios because that was my job. Listen and respond. But I was just like internally like, it was so cool. It was so cool. Nothing, the sim, it looks fake as all get out. It looks like, the old X-Plane, like before the new one came out. Yeah, she's a little rough, but yeah, there's nothing like real life, and it is so cool. It's so cool.
You're not excited about any of this at all.
No,
right?
not at all. I hate it so much. Terrible experience. Would not recommend.
Yes, you would.
Well, I just remember like flying through the clouds on autopilot and being able to look out the window and thinking how cool and how you really get a sense for the speed.
Yeah.
Doing like 120 knots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're doing like double that at least. So I got to imagine like you really get a sense for the speed in that thing.
Yeah, with all the
Flying
clouds
through
and
the
stuff.
clouds.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like it. I've flown through plenty of clouds in a single engine piston and even a multi-engine. And it's just not, your brain has to process things so fast, but it's so cool that you're just, at least for me, I'm just like almost overwhelmed with the sensation. It's very, very cool. And plus, once you hit a cloud, like you really feel the updrafts. When you hit those towering cumulus clouds, she's like, I hope your seatbelt's on pretty tight. I'm like, it is. Don't worry. Because we knew that it was going to be a bumpy ride home. And it really wasn't, except for the one we had to kind of punch through. It wasn't a full-on thunderstorm, obviously. It was just a towering.
Sure.
But we went up pretty, good, 20 or 40 feet at least. But it was so fast, that the autopilot kind of took it and brought it back down. And it was no problem. But it was much more dramatic but quick than in a piston. So
Sure.
It was super fun. That's all.
Speaking of super fun, I want to go back to something that I caught that you said about an airplart, Paul Blart. No, I want to go back to talk about an airport you said you took off out of.
Okay.
Atlanta, like that, you're talking the Atlanta, right?
No.
Oh, well,
Shoot a cab.
never mind then. Forget it.
I know.
was
That
gonna
was going to
ask-
be one of our alternates, though. That was our alternate for yesterday. Because we weren't sure. The weather was looking kind of iffy. And if the runway is in any way wet at Peachtree to Cab, we can't land there.
Okay.
Because the runway is so short. It's like stupid. It's like 5,200 feet or something like that. It's really not a long runway for a beach jet. So, you guys are like, oh, yeah, that's, nothing burger. Land in the grass beside it. But for jets, we have to factor in, especially Part 135. We can only, use, quote unquote, for planning 60% of the runway. Gotcha. So if the runway is wet, our numbers change. And then things could go very, very badly if things were to go badly. Excuse me.
So, bigger aircraft, faster aircraft. I assume flying out of bigger airports like Charlotte. How does that experience differ from flying out of your general aviation at airports in Wichita, other than not needing to tell the tower that you're at the airport?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, being at a Bravo, I've operated near Bravos before. The airports that I've flown at have been busy, so I was kind of prepared for it. But there's something about the change in the type of flying that makes it really challenging.
Okay.
Just because I'm a different aircraft, we have different capabilities. We have, times that we need to make and stuff like that. Like we have different, I guess we operate at a different speed, even on the ground. We taxi out, we do our taxi checks during the taxi, which is normal for jets and stuff. Like we don't go to the run-up area or anything, and we're there, we get called. So tower generally will just call you. So you have to monitor, and they'll just clear you to take off. whether you're ready or not, and you better be ready. So in particular, Charlotte is very, very busy with airline traffic. Obviously, It is the hub for American, or one of the hubs. It is absolutely nuts. So I think the first time I got exposed to it, I was able to taxi for a maintenance run before I flew it, which was nice because I got exposed to the airport rather a little bit. And crossing runways, getting handed off to another ground controller, being told, go, Whiskey November Victor, hold short of runway 18 center on Victor 4, that was yesterday actually. But like, it's crazy, and you're expected to keep up because you're in a jet. They're expecting you to be competent, which is terrifying for somebody who's brand new. So, they do have small, like, piston airplanes coming in every once in a while, but even still, everything's really, really quick. You've got to be able to do things on a very quick time scale. Otherwise, somebody's going to be upset with you. Yeah. So, it is hard, but it's just challenging in a way that you just have to keep, your pen in your hand and just have your ears perked and ready to hear your tail number to write things down. And just be ready for kind of anything. Flying into Peachtree was even more difficult, in my opinion, because there are a lot of little satellite airports out there that are extremely busy. So Peachtree is one of those. So Atlanta Center, I think I got past to 4 or 5 approach frequencies, center and approach frequencies.
No kidding.
Yeah. And in that 30-minute flight, as soon as we got to Atlanta, it was controller. It was so fast because they have so many sectors because they're so busy. So now it was IFR when we went in, so that cut down on a lot of traffic. But when it's VFR, apparently it is absolute chaos. So I actually met a gal at Peachtree. She just another pilot. She just kind of walked up to me and asked me who I was and, what I was flying. And, we kind of hit it off. Her name is Sam. And she flies medevac. And she said one day she was trying to get out of Peachtree and there were like 5 aircraft in the pattern. There were at least 5 or 6 lined up. And there were a bunch of planes on final kind of trying to come in on an approach. And the only reason she got out because she was medevac, she had organs on board. So, yeah. Otherwise, they would have been sitting there forever.
I'd like to go now.
Yes. Yeah, they had them cut the line.
Is Peachtree towered or non-towered?
It's towered. Thank God.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, there were
I can only imagine that trying to get out with the release.
Oh, we still had a time, so it was interesting. So in a jet, you sit in the jet, like especially me, it's my job technically to get in the jet. After we've done the pre-flight to go get our clearance and listen to the ATIS and get our clearance. And at Peachtree, and not at CLT, at Peachtree, we actually had a release time. They gave us a time that we could expect to leave. And so we're like looking at our watches. We're like, we gotta go. So yeah, it was, and we had some time, but then the passengers were like, oh, we're getting food. And we're like, oh my God, we need to go. Like, we didn't say that to them. We're like, they're like needing to go to the bathroom. We're like, I hope we make it. We did. We were fine. They had us expedite our taxi because we were a little bit early. Okay. And so they just had us expedite. They got us out early, which was nice. But yeah, you definitely have to be on your toes. You definitely have to be super cool, accepting deviations and being changed to different controllers and being asked to do very strange things at times. I got asked something yesterday, or I got told to do something yesterday that I've never been told to do before. I've never heard before. I figured it out, but I don't remember what it was. Dang it. But yeah, there's a new thing every day. So I am definitely a student again. There's a lot of things that I have not seen that I have yet to see. So yeah, very fun.
So you mentioned the customers who want to get their sandwiches and their food or whatever before they get on the plane, and you're kind of in a rush here.
Yeah.
But like this, my understanding, at least Part 135 is very much focused on the customer, right?
Yep.
Like, is there a lot of like customer service roles that you're covering as well as flying the aircraft?
Absolutely. In my opinion, half of my job specifically is customer service, which I love. I'm actually, I've got experience doing it. which is kind of fun. I worked at Chick-fil-A for 4 years. I better be decent at it.
Do you say my pleasure to your passengers?
I may have done it yesterday. But, it's a good response, especially because we're in the South. It's cool. But, so it is very customer focused. So obviously we don't rush them or anything. If we have an off time, if it's like something pretty serious, like we're in Atlanta, like Hartsfield Jackson, then we would probably, express to the passengers, hey, if you want to get out at this time, if we need to be here, you need to be here at this time. Otherwise, unfortunately there may be delays, that sort of thing. But at somewhere like that, we would have just gotten a revised clearance and we could have gotten a revised release time, and we probably would have had to wait for a while. But ultimately it's the clients first. If they're, we don't leave without them.
Right.
If they need to stay, they need to leave early, as long as it doesn't interfere with their rest time. So say if it's an overnight, gotcha, and they say, oh, hey, we actually need to leave 4 hours early, and it cuts into our 10 hours rest, there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, if they're like, hey, we just need to leave an hour early and it's cool, we leave as soon as we can. As long as we have time to get the plane all ready to go, that's, what we do. So a lot of the stuff is done in advance. Like my captain and I both arrive earlier than the hour we're supposed to, because we always have things we want to do, which is kind of fun. Little cleanup things, or putting more snacks in the little box and making sure it looks nice, make sure, the blanket's on board and everything, everything's as it ought to be. And there's kind of like a procedure, which is interesting. And I'm sure every company or every crew does it a little bit differently. But, for instance, I'm babysitting the GPU, the ground power unit. So the airplane's plugged in, trying to get some cold air into the airplane, while my captain is inside the FBO a half hour early to go get, receive the passengers, make sure, they have a luggage cart in the FBO, or she brings it out herself. Make sure they have everything that they need, that she gives them a bit of a briefing. It talks to them about, just kind of chatting with them a little bit. And then when she comes out with the passengers to the airplane, because they need to be escorted generally, that's my cue to get out and go get bags loaded and everything. So there's kind of like there's a script almost as far as the procedures and how we operate in order so the clients get to where they want to go without any undue, waiting time. So, we don't wait. We barely wait till the airplane stops. Before I've unbuckled, I do my 3 things to, that are on my side, and I get out of there as quickly as I can with that really cramped cockpit. But I get out and open the door and ask them how their flight was and everything, just the general, stuff that you ask people about their experience, and some if they need anything or whatever. And then assist with, making sure the airplane's chalked, and that, talking to the guy who's getting the luggage and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole thing. Anyway, you can cut some of that out. That was a long spiel. I'm trying to remember it myself. There's so much to do at any given time, but a lot of it is customer service. I'm actually excited to learn more about that and how I can do better, and how I can, make that experience special, because it's not a cheap experience to take a jet somewhere.
No kidding.
And, I want them, the clients to feel like they really got what they paid for, because that can be difficult sometimes, especially with delays and stuff like that, to kind of convey. But, a smile and, kind words go a long way. So far, so good. We've had positive experiences so far.
Good.
Yeah.
You mentioned snacks.
Yes.
And getting snacks on the plane. So my family, whenever possible, we fly Delta, which of course means Biscoff cookies. So in my personal plane, in my Cherokee, we got like one of those packs of airline-sized Biscoff cookies, and now I hand them out to my passengers.
That's fantastic.
So I love that.
But they don't get a choice. My passengers get Biscoff cookies, or they get nothing. And as my kids would say, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But with that customer service oriented flying, and like you said, flying in a jet is not cheap, and so you want it to be worth the experience and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any weird snack requests that you get? Have you had like a I only want the green M&Ms type of
Or
thing?
no brown M&Ms? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So far, no. The owners do have preferences, but they're pretty average. They like plain Lay's potato chips, Slim Jims, and a couple other things to be on board. Otherwise, so far, I mean, I have had very limited experience so far. So I don't know what people normally ask for. Usually we have an assortment of all sorts of things. We try to keep it pretty varied, and I'm actually meeting, I have a meeting next week about stocking and everything, because that's actually my job. So I want to make it a little more bougie, because right now we've got Nutter Butters, and we've got like the packages at the store of like the chips, assorted chips, and then the assorted like cookies. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like just the very like Oreos and Chips Ahoy, and then like Lay's barbecue regular and friggin' whatever, sour cream and onion, whatever. And then like some mints and things. And I'm like, I think we can step it up a little bit. I think we can do better than this. Because at the end of the day, this, although I think some junk food is kind of fun because people do eat it. But sometimes it's like, do they eat it just because it's there, or do they really want that junk food? Which junk food, amazing. Like we'll probably still keep some on board, because who doesn't want a package of Oreos? I love Oreos.
Right.
But at the same time, having, some slightly nicer options, like a good popcorn or nicer meat sticks, have the Slim Jims, but also have nicer meat sticks, because that's what I prefer. I've got kind of a bougie taste in snacks, so I'm kind of like spearheading this whole campaign. It's like, okay, what do I have in my pantry that I could donate to see if it's popular? And so far, I've contributed 2 bars, a bag of apple chips, and 2 bags of popcorn, and one of the bags of popcorn I got ate yesterday. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. But yeah, so, it's kind of fun, like organizing the stuff and, going through, seeing what we have and making sure that people have things that they would really enjoy on the flight. A lot of our flights so far, at least, have been really short. So, we barely, we're in cruise for about 5 or 10 minutes before we start down on arrival. I don't have time to breathe. It's tough.
Let alone eat a Slim Jim.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I might need a Snickers too. But yeah, so it's hard. I know I'll settle into it, but I'm really liking the little menial kind of tasks of like making sure the airplane's, cleaned, and I'll clean off the seats and everything afterwards, and make sure the seatbelts are all where they're supposed to be, and arrange the pillows just so, I love doing that nonsense. I love it. My mom, I grew up with all of that. She's like, you're going to fan the napkins like this, and the places will be set like this. Or, well, she wasn't mean about it. You guys know my mom, but
oh no, I didn't think she was.
She was in catering and event planning, so she knew how to do that stuff. She knew how to throw a party,
an idea.
Which means that I learned how to throw a party, even though I have no friends.
Are they paper napkins or like cloth napkins?
We have paper napkins, but we have some glass cups that we do have.
Okay, I guess it doesn't matter whether they're paper or cloth, but what you should bring back the aviatrix sectional stuff, and like. The rings that go around the napkins with the silverware, like the paper rings, sectional charts.
Look what you just did. You have the wheels turning over there.
Ooh, I like what you're thinking. But yeah, overall, this is a different type of flying. Just kind of like how when you go for your instrument after your private, they're like, oh yeah, I kind of know how to fly an airplane now. You get your instrument, you're like, never mind. That's kind of how it feels. Like I still know what I'm doing, kind of, but like I don't know what I'm doing. I have a lot to learn. I'm excited about that. It's kind of nice being in the role ish of a student again. I'm learning a ton every single flight.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. I'm having a good time.
I'm glad to hear that, because you've worked really hard to get there.
Thank you.
Yes,
really,
indeed.
I can see it how it wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, but it is fun.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to share with our listeners, Manny, about your fun and exciting experiences? Or
Well, if you're in the market for a jet aircraft ride and you are in North Carolina and willing to spend a little bit of money, Da Vinci Jets. That's it.
And Maddie will take you somewhere.
I'll take you somewhere.
All right, I got a question then. So is this a pilot monitoring, pilot flying type of situation? Like you flip-flop back and forth?
Yeah, so for right now, I am strictly pilot monitoring because I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yes, eventually, once I get some time flying on empty legs, we will switch off pilot flying, pilot monitoring.
Okay.
But I'm expecting to do pilot monitoring for a while, which is so okay with me. Again, there's a lot going on. There's very high stress situations. I mean, these are busy airports, busy airspace, a lot's happening all at once. So it'll be exciting to finally fly it, but that's not even in my brain airspace right now.
Yeah. All part of the progression.
Will they give you another sim session or two to like get the feel for the landing? I know it's not perfect, but, or is it just going to be here you go?
It'll be here you go, but based on what I've experienced, it lands nothing like the Sims. Yeah.
Great.
And it feels like we're landing really flat.
Okay.
But we're not. Like I have because the airplane sits kind of nose up. So even worse than the Sim. Like it does not do ground effect like the Sim does. It does, but it does. It's weird. It's really weird. Like I think, we haven't flared high enough and then the mains touch. I'm like, oh shoot. I didn't notice the sinking. So, my captain's got it in the bag. Like she's great. Yeah. But I will hopefully get there with time. We'll see.
I'm sure you
But the takeoffs, man, the takeoffs feel so fast. Yo, it is so cool. It's also terrifying. Because in the Sim, it like wiggles and stuff and it kind of tilts back a little bit so it feels like you're accelerating. But when you're really accelerating, whoa, it's so cool.
You know what I've loved about this conversation?
Huh.
Just how excited you are to be doing all this. I love that for you.
Thank you. It is the biggest change that I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Like everything has changed.
Where you live, where you work.
Yeah, what I do. Yeah. I'm not an instructor anymore. Like I am at heart, of course. Like I'm, somebody says something and I'm like, okay, but make sure you didn't, can't shut up ever. Whoops. But yeah, it's really cool. I'm really having fun.
Good.
Well, you can tell you went from the girl who at the start of the show said you didn't want to talk for 45 minutes to the girl that's just giddy and talking about everything, which is awesome.
For 45 minutes?
Oh, it's been longer than that, my friend.
I'm aware. I'm watching the clock. No, that's not right.
Well, it's awesome. We love it.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again, Maddie, for taking some time to talk to us about your insights to the jet life. I love that title. Are we keeping that as the episode title?
I don't know.
I think we do.
Okay. I like it. I like how it sounds. Anyway, thank you for sharing all that with us, and look forward to hearing more about your adventures.
I am excited to share them when they occur. I don't know when they're occurring, but I will let you know after.
Fair enough.
My profile picture, I think, is perfect for the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I did. Yeah.
I like it.
That is cool.
Thank you. I was just sitting there. I was dying. We were in Peachtree, and I was inside the airplane, and my captain had shut the door to try to keep the cool air in, and that's not how it happened. It did not happen like that. It had to have been 95 degrees in there.
Yuck.
And I was literally sweat dripping down my face. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to have heat stroke. I'm going to die. So I opened the door and it was like, like it felt that dramatic. There was wind and it was a little bit cooler than the inside. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God, my passengers are going to like fry in here. But thankfully they didn't mind. So yeah. But I was sitting on the steps like, like drenched in sweat dripping off my face as I like tried to cool off, and I took that photo. So
Yeah.
I also sent when my captain texted me about that the passengers were going for lunch instead of come to the airport like we had scrambled to get the airplane ready and everything. And I sent her the gif of the airplane. What's the guy? I don't remember the guy's name. Of the sweat like absolutely pouring down his face. He's like wiping the sweat off. She thought it was so funny. Jeez. She hasn't gotten sick of me yet, but she will be.
Any day now.
Any day now. Yeah, it was awesome.
Speaking of being sick of Maddie, should we get to the outro?
Oh yeah, please. Please,
actually,
put me out of my misery.
Well, Maddie,
help
what
it.
would have kept you cool through all of this would be sporting our cool new merch, which we now have available on the website. We have a new vendor. It's higher quality now.
It is.
And it is guaranteed to keep you cool in the 95-degree cabin of your... I already forgot the plane you fly, but business
Jerry
jet.
the Pilatus.
That's too good.
Exactly. So go check it out at flyingmidwestpodcast.com/merch. Get all of your gear ready to go because air show season is here and you don't want to be seen without a Flying Midwest Podcast shirt or hat to keep your head cool. We've also got some Fly the Transition merch out there. And if you really want to be adventurous, I think we got some Badger Pilot stuff out there.
I sure do. I want to make a quick disclaimer to your guarantee that you gave our audience about our merchandise. When you said it's guaranteed to keep you cool in a 95-degree cockpit of an aircraft, we just meant like fashion sense cool, not necessarily temperature-wise cool. I just needed to make sure
Make no claims about our merch.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just our opinion.
And our
and
Not reflective of our employers.
yeah. That and it's flyingmidwest.com/merch, not flyingmidwestpodcast.com.
Oh, just Flying Midwest.
This is why I stopped repping our merch, because I don't remember what the heck.
It's going to be in the show notes. It'll be in the show notes.
You know what's funny is I recently sent a note to Opposing Bases because they got our podcast name wrong.
Uh-huh.
And I think I need to retract that now because I don't know our own website. So.
I'll be sure to put that in this podcast for them to hear. Speaking of those guys, they're going to be having a meetup at AirVenture, and they have talked about merch that is authorized at that meetup. I don't know who they think they are to be able to dictate attire for this event, but at any rate, we were approved as authorized merchandise at the OB meetup.
That's amazing. I love that.
Well, they said it was the Midwest Flying Podcast, so
Maybe
if
there's
there's another podcast out there.
That's the best regional aviation podcast, not this one.
We're number 2.
Got it. Wow, it's been a good run.
We tried our best.
Yes.
Anyway.
So anyways, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, share your thoughts on this episode, or give us ideas for future topics or guests, or be one yourself, feel free to join us either for free over on the Discord. You can email us at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send you a link to join. Or even better, you can join us on Patreon. Our patrons get special bonus features, early access to aero exploration episodes that Jim puts out, and a few other bonus features as well. And we always say it, but the podcast does take more than just time and energy. There are some costs associated with it too, and our patrons help offset those costs, and we couldn't do the show without them.
Thanks, Mom. My mom gets a special shout out because she's my mom.
Thanks, Maddie's mom.
I think she's still a patron, isn't she?
What if she's not and she's just like riding the Patreon wave?
Speaking of that Discord thing, Brandon White, you have emailed us and asked to be part of our Discord community. I have been stupid busy with work. I will send you the invite when we're done recording this episode, so you will have it by the time you listen to this. I just felt bad that it's been sitting here for, 10 days, and I haven't added him yet. So I wanted to say thank you for listening, Brandon. We will add you to the Discord server.
Oops.
And preemptively welcome.
Welcome to the Discord server. Yeah.
if you have any ideas for solo shows, or you or somebody you know or somebody you're volunteering to be on the podcast should be on the podcast. Let's try that again because I don't think that was grammatically correct.
Who cares?
Me!
Okay.
Just leave it.
Oh. Let us know. And also, if you don't mind, you could be like Cash Money or no shoot, what was his name? D Money?
D Money.
You could be like D Money with his Cash Money review of 5 stars on any platform you choose to listen on. We would love to see it, and we will also read it if it is kind of nice and no swears for our family friendly podcast. But as long as you rate us 5 stars, we will read it on the podcast. We'd love you to review.
Thanks. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Flying Midwest. What did I miss?
Flying Monkey Podcast.
I didn't say Flying Monkey Podcast.
No,
you did.
Though.
Not going to.
The Midwest Flying.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the Midwest Flying Midlife Opposing Podcast.
Are we bringing this one back again?
This is just a little callback. All right, for real, though. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Flying Midwest Podcast. And until next time...
See ya!
See ya! See ya!
Flight 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest Podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
Was that really loud? I'm sorry.
It was. Terrible. Even better.
Wow.
What are you drinking there today? It does look like a spindrift. I just hate you the regular amount. I seem like I'm kind of...
Can you do that? Do you have power?
No, I'm enjoying this. As our fabulous co-host, Maddie, is going to share her insights in her... Oh, God. I know what I want to say, but it's just like...
I have no idea what
part of
we're
it
talking
is
My
funny.
wife is asking me for passwords for apps right now, so
You should get her password manager.
She already has one. It's Badger. Okay, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this part of your article. Whoever reads it. A video filmed by passenger Tom Caw. I just think that's funny when there's a bird loose in a plane. Caw, caw.
You know, pigeons don't make that noise, silly.
Irrelevant. It's funny to me.
And might be sniffly. I'm sorry in advance. My tea sucks.
What kind of tea is it again? Rum chata? Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, it was made with like my unfiltered water, and it tastes real bad. So
you got the good water down there in North Carolina?
no, I have the filtered water out of my fridge and the crappy water out of the tap.
Oh. Okay.
I'm all out
You
of
got
sorts
really
because
quiet,
nobody's
Jim.
here.
I moved away from the
That is-
microphone.
Yeah, you have to like be super.
I had to like be eating this microphone.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
Stop.
if the runway is closed, and well, I just said that without even reading it. It's like I'm predicting the future. All right. Okay.
I'm gonna not name her, so if I did, Jim, if you could cut that out. Because I don't know if she wants to be on that podcast. Probably not. I wouldn't want to be associated with this podcast either.
You already are.
Oh yeah. Now I'm in it, but she's not. So